there are these different societal expectations of like who should pay and how much everyone should pay, and like
the first thing that comes to my mind is that feels like very heteronormative dating.
Even though I noticed in my previous interview I also had some back fat sticking out, which is, you know what, maybe that's just my thing, and that's okay.
We gotta normalize it.
We gotta normalize.
Everyone has bodies.
Yes. Thank you. Michelle.
Yes.
I was wondering, since you're a therapist, and in therapy, I think there is a transactional element and there is an element of love and affection. And it sort of made me think of how much of love is transactional. And I'm not going to say love itself, perhaps, but dating. I feel like the older I get, the more there are these different societal expectations of like who should pay and how much everyone should pay, and like what
the first thing that comes to my mind is that feels like very heteronormative dating.
So well said. Thank you. Yes.
Like this is something I've been unpacking for myself too. And like, it's funny because I talked to my own therapist about this, about me dating as a queer person.
Yes.
And the panic that ensued when I've been going on dates. I'm like, who pays? Like, do we both pay? Do we split the bill? Like, what is this? And my therapist was like, you know how gendered this sounds. I'm like, I'm aware. Yes. I'm aware that it's gendered. I'm aware that it's heteronormative. But for the most part, we get brought up in a very heteronormative, very cis society where there are expectations of men and expectations of women. And the expectation of men is men are paying for dates and providing this and doing this, and women are just there to be company and are expected to then maybe do something in return. And that's where the transaction comes into play.
Exactly. That's so well said.
And it also becomes difficult when you're going out with someone and they're spending extravagant amounts on a first date, second date, what have you.
Yeah.
Because especially as women, you then feel an obligation to do something.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
I think queer dating tries to break a lot of that.
Yes.
And tries to push back against a lot of that we are both coming into this date and hey, maybe we're splitting the bill and maybe one person's paying this time and one person's paying the next time, but it makes it so that it is that less of a transactional interaction and more of a really genuine conversation, genuine connection, when you're not thinking, oh my God, they just paid $100 for drinks, I have to go home with them.
Exactly. But there are still certain societal pressures.
Of course.
So something that confuses me as a femme woman who's also bisexual is that there's usually like a femme and butch combination that I'm expected to be a part of. And I find it quite rare to like find women who are also femme.
That does make sense. And I think that comes a lot from the understanding about women and women relationships that people developed, which is again, heteronormative.
Exactly.
If your only understanding of a woman dating another woman is that one of those women is like traditionally femme and the other one looks masculine, then that's still a heteronormative. That's a straight relationship in other people's eyes.
Exactly. And then those transactional pressures are exactly the same, even though the genders are different. So it's something that I struggle with, that sometimes I feel like we're putting these extra societal pressures on ourselves, even though the point is that it should be different. You know, this makes me think of the phrase, love is love, which is very, very popular. Why does love need to be the same? You know, because that's what we're saying here. We're saying, hey, straight people, we love each other the same way that y'all love each other. And like, we don't exactly, right? It's different.
It's different, and it's also because we are breaking and pushing back against different structures.
Yes.
So queer love is different, and because queer love has also recognized that, and more expansively, and I think straight people are getting there, but like platonic love. There are queer platonic relationships that are just as deep and just as important as any romantic relationship.
Exactly. And
yeah, I came to understand non-monogamy and polyamory through that lens of friendship, thinking, no, my friends don't lose my love for them just because other friends come into my life. My family doesn't lose my love because my family expands. Like, I have nephews, I have nieces. It's not a finite resource. And so in exploring non-monogamy and being allowed to have this space where I'm able to learn so much more, I do want to be able to have those romantic connections, not just a transactional sexual connection.
Exactly.
I want someone who I'm going to have as part of my life, because I'm sorry, I can't turn off my emotions. Like, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
As much as we like to say we can do no strings attached, friends with benefits, this, or have no emotions, we are all people. Our emotions are going to happen.
Exactly. Would it be fair to say, based on what you've told me, that love is infinite? That you can always have more love for people?
Absolutely.
That it like never runs out?
I don't think love could ever run out, because the world would be a really sad place if love was finite.
That's beautiful. I have a next question that I prepared for you, and I've never asked anyone else this. I wanted to talk about heartbreak.
Heartbreak.
Oh. What I've noticed in my personal life is I'm seeing more and more of these breakups that are actually like friendship breakups.
Yeah.
You know, breakups in these actually personal relationships that have no sexual or romantic connotation whatsoever, but it's still a really, really big personal issue and personal change. Literally every single person I know, every single woman I know has gone through them.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because a friendship breakup is what led me to my current therapist. A blessing in every way. But friendship breakups and really any type of ending of a relationship, regardless if it's romantic, friendship, familial, what have you, is an extremely difficult process. People don't say this often enough. What you are doing is going through mourning. You are grieving. Exactly. Heartbreak is grieving.
Yes.
That person might not be dead, but they're not in your life. Mm-hmm. So the stages of grief are really what people need to be applying and understanding about people who experience heartbreak and who experience the end of a relationship. Oh, so there will be people who are in our lives for a very, very, very long time. Yes. But at some point, we might lose those connections or move apart or grow and become different people. Mm. So heartbreak is an unfortunately constant part of life. Love is a beautiful concept, but it's not enough for anything to be sustainable. You can't just love someone, or you can't just say you love someone. You have to do more than the bare minimum.
Yes.
But then again, a lot of people are willing to accept less than the bare minimum because of the lack of love they felt for themselves, the lack of love that they experienced growing up, the lack of love that they just see in their lives. So they will take that and run with it and have that for whatever period of time. And then when the heartbreak happens, you're left feeling more empty.
100%. Beautifully said.
Again, love comes in many forms and from many places, and your life doesn't have to look like everybody else's. Yes. It's harder when you're someone from maybe a different generation who doesn't see things that way, who says, no, I'm supposed to, at this point in my life, have a husband and kids and a house and all of these other things. And that's just not the trajectory for everyone. No. And when your expectations of your life and the things that you're set up and the things that you want to love in your life aren't there, you will accept less.
Yes. Yeah, that's so true.
I think I'm very lucky because for a very long time, I struggled with love.
Wow.
I struggled loving myself. I struggled loving my own family.
Oh my God.
I love them now. Sometimes they get on my nerves and they're very frustrating, but like that's a family. But it took me a while to get to a place of love with all of them. Oh my God. Because I also felt for a really long time as an outsider. And they know that. They know
in your own family?
Yeah.
Outsider? Oh,
they know that about me. Because I am their like queer, gender questioning, very outspoken, trying to break barriers, trying to push against generational trauma kid.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That was amazing. Love is different for everyone. Everyone needs something different. Love can be healing, which is a really beautiful sentiment. And romantic love isn't any more charming or important or beautiful or devastating than all the other types of love out there, especially love for friendship.
It's a never-ending resource, and it doesn't have to be limited. You should always love without boundaries, and as deeply and as meaningfully as you can, because there are so many types of love in the world, so why not just experience all of them?
It's so beautiful. I'm gonna cry. You heard it here first.